Welcome to Tiny Hands Big Dreams here in the homestead in southern Ecuador. I have the opportunity to talk about something many people have asked about. So if you move here, what's it like finding work? Can you earn money? I've had the opportunity to find out. So part of our existence is learning how to exist here with nothing. We're working on it. So scrapping for work in the southern Ecuador. What's it like? What's available? A lot of it's informal, and there's a few parts to this. So there's things that you can bring that you can do as your own person. Then there's going to work for somebody else. Done a bit of both. On one hand, if you want to bring something and you want to do it, you want to produce a thing, you want to sell a thing. What would be a good example? Say you make something, brownies, I don't know, that is super delectable that nobody here has ever had, and you want to just, you want to make some brownies, and you want to sell them to the local markets and places, and turn over some extra cash. Now, specific things have certain specific rules attached. You're supposed to have, for food, a food sanitary certificate, which is a much easier thing than in the US. You have to have a tax identification, which is really just a trip to the SRI office. And there's a thing called a RIMPI, which is, since it's from the SRI office and it's called a RIMPI, I just call it a shrimpy because that's who I am. And a RIMPI lets you sell a certain amount of things of a declared kind of type up to a certain value per year, and you just pay once, and it's pretty cheap. $20–30, you can sell, you know, 5 or 10 grand worth of stuff, and there's tiers to it. You can decide your tier on how much you're going to sell. You pay once. You don't have to deal with all the tax reporting. It's an informal kind of getting people into the economy, into the tax system, rather than have them go full-blown business license everything. They're just going to sell some stuff on the side. So that covers your legalities. But say you got your thing, and now you want to go sell these brownies. So what I found is the local places are actually quite open to that. You can walk in any store. I'm selling this thing. Here it is. And sometimes people are like, no. And that could just be because, like, they don't want to be bothered. They're busy. They're broke. But for the most part, people are like, oh, what is that? And if it's something new and different and interesting, they're honestly like, what you got there? Especially from a foreigner, because now it's exotic and interesting. And a lot of places, even if they don't want to carry the product, will buy one. Be like, oh, well, I'll take one. I'll take one. I'll take one. Oh, okay. And you can sell a bunch that way. If they're good, then they may want more. They may ask to have them in their store. And all of a sudden, you have yourself a whole bunch of stores and a delivery route that you can go do. And that's totally on you, how you manage that. It's very informal. Most everywhere pays cash. So if you had your brownies, you walk in, here's 10 or 20 brownies. Maybe you'll sell them in a week. And there's a price on them. You declare a discount. Typical markup here, 15–20%. That's it. Margins aren't high. So if you're offering 15–20%, that's kind of a normal amount. If you're selling something for $2, then it's going to be like $1.70 as a wholesale. So that's your pricing structure, and that's just, geez. It's simply only limited by how much you want to drive around. Specialty services. Another thing that I was at the carpenter, and I'm counting through, I think it was my last $17 to our name. Like, that's it. So we're trying to figure out how to eat for the next week. And I have to give him a couple dollars to pay for wood shavings for all the animal houses. Dry shavings. Otherwise we start to have issues with animal health problems. And it struck me, I'm like, I have a saw blade sharpener. That's an uncommon thing here. So I asked the carpenter, I said, hey, who sharpens your saw blades? He goes, oh, we send them to Cuenca. Oh yeah, it takes time, things, you got to send them out, and they don't like doing it. I haven't actually gotten how much it costs yet. It's probably not expensive. Most things in Ecuador are not expensive, but between shipping it there, the hassle, getting it back, and paying the guy, I realized, I'm like, it's bigger than my blades, so I have to check my machine. But if I could I just trade it for wood shavings? And he goes, yeah. Great. Well, that saves me a few dollars. Maybe I could get a couple of rounds of shavings out of them. That's it. That's cash not spent. And I'm using a tool that's a specialty tool that is really kind of unavailable to make some side money. I could go around to the other carpenters and for like $5 often to sharpen their saw blades. And I probably will the next time I'm in town, but driving to town takes gas, and gas costs money. So I combine my trips. I'll get there. So those kind of specialty services are available. Now, I also thought how much fun it would be. Like, what if I just opened some sort of like a sharpening business, which is not something I've seen. And I came across a couple of problems. One, Ecuadorians are thrifty. They'll spend money on things on occasion, and they'll even spend silly money on things sometimes. But for the most part, they're very thrifty. They're I could just not sharpen my knives and rub them against each other, or the cement or something, or little honing blocks are the normal way that people have, and they're just manually kind of honing their knives. And the steel is garbage quality anyway, so it doesn't hold for long. And they'll do that probably rather than pay. For a machete, $1, $2. When you get a machete, it's not sharp. And then you could find someone to sharpen it. Mostly they're going to use a bench grinder, and it's pretty crude. I've developed quite the hand at doing it with an angle grinder and a sanding disc. But it comes down to, you have to have enough of that to make it worth your while. There's no way I'm either going to have to like live in a city where people can come to me and I don't have to travel, or I'd have to figure out some way to have collecting things, something that there's logistics to it. And at least for us, when just getting to and from town is a gallon of gas, there's cost to the logistics to make that work. But these kind of things are, at least in small towns, wanted. Now, the other way is just to work for somebody. And what I found is the label market here is far more casual. There's not all the onboarding paperwork and the things and the stuff and the this and the formal. Do you need work? Yeah, okay. Be here tomorrow morning. Go talk to that guy. Talk to that guy. That guy says do this, do that, do something. And then there you are. It's pretty informal. There's also, on the informal side of it, where they just say, material didn't show up. No work today. Or they'll message you, early in the morning and be like, don't come to work. There's just no work today. And that's considered a fairly normal thing of like, well, no work. Or the weather's terrible, we can't do that job. Okay, no work. And people here they just don't work that day. And their income is reduced, so counting on that income then becomes slightly difficult. So I've been working for a neighbor. What was that James Bond character? Odd Job. Yeah, I'm Odd Job. Because as it turns out, I also have a small welding machine that I bought, gosh, when I got here to Ecuador. It's nothing fancy, it's just a stick welder. But I can weld. And having the machine and the ability, and things like a helmet and gloves, sets me up a step from, okay, that is now uncommon for a laborer. Now, if you were to just go do that as a all-day thing and someone had to pay you $30, $40 a day, kind of the normal realm. Certain jobs you would negotiate slightly higher if it's more technical. And of course, you could probably double that if you become sort of your own contractor and you kind of get into the thing and you start doing your own quoting and your own working with people. And that could just be for cash, or you start yourself a company, which means getting a lawyer and having official company paperwork drawn up. But these kind of things exist. So I've been doing that as well. Like, I could weld, and I've been making little carts. One was a dish cart for a restaurant. You know the little Rubbermaid carts you see in restaurants that collect dishes? Yeah, they're not here. So I welded them one out of steel. It was better part of a day's work. It was $15 worth of steel. You know, I've got to paint it up tomorrow. The guy seems pleased. His wife, who runs a restaurant, seems pleased. Great. I'm happy to do stuff like that. And I got some roof work. Oh, steel beams for a roof. Okay. You know, and those guys exist, but they're also pretty busy doing other jobs. At least right now, the economy is in sort of a building phase. So people who can build are in demand, and their time is utilized. Let's see. So the next one, we got a gate. Again, for my neighbor, he's like, hey, we have to weld up this big gate. He found out about, I don't know how he finds out about some of this stuff. Some guy's building a house, end of town. He needs a big gate for his new property. He calls me, and I'm like, yeah, you know, we go and we figure out the material, and he quotes it. The guy says, sure, pays him. And then he goes, you know, like, we're going to get all the material in. I was supposed to do that today. Instead, I'm doing this video. Material didn't show up. No work today. Which is a huge problem come Sunday when we try to go get food, because we were counting on a day's work. So tomorrow, perhaps. It's less. So we're going to do that. But it's a big, beautiful gate. It's something I can do. And these kind of things exist. You can just sort of ask around. Once you're in the community for a while, you'd be like, oh, I can, you know, do this thing. I can do this other thing. I can do this. Oh, you're useful. You're skilled. You have specialty tools. All of a sudden, things sort of open up. And that's kind of a neat thing. It's far more informal than the way the U.S. is now, where it's very complicated to hire people. It's very complicated to keep people legally. There's a ton of rules and things, and did you follow like certain criteria and hiring practices and something, and then you're going to get sued. Yeah, lawsuits here are not really a thing. The U.S. has become absolutely litigation crazy. And the more I'm away from it, the more I realize. And you see people, and the first thing, there's any sort of altercation, people are just holding up their phone like, I got my phone, I got my phone. And everybody's recording it. Or they're just standing around hooting and hollering. And because, oh, I'm going to sue you, I'm going to sue you. And you hear people say this all the time. Well, I'm going to sue you, you touched me, you this, you that. Yeah, that's not really a thing here. People don't, they're not litigation crazy. They don't just sue. Like, also, when you get into like safety, your safety's on your own. I see guys doing stuff all the time. I'm like, you should not do that. You should have a dust mask. You're working with silica and like plaster, or you're grinding without even a pair of eyeglasses. Or, I mean, I'm not always the one to talk for safety, but these are not supplied all the time by the employer. Sometimes they are. Big employer, sure, big employer. Oh yeah, you got your steel-toed boots and your hard hat and your thing and your something. The big gold mine up next to us, those dudes roll out in 43 pieces of safety gear, flare. They even got the little protectors for the lug nuts on all the trucks to make sure the lug nuts don't loosen themselves up. Every one of them has a shovel and a fire extinguisher and a thing, and like they're just loaded to the hilt, showing how to do it right. That's the other side of it. I mean, those exist. So you're kind of on your own. Yeah, good pair of gloves. Yeah, bring your own gloves. Sturdy boots. Dudes will show up in Crocs. Foam shoes. Rain boots are pretty common. And just, you know, I'm like, you're welding in PVC boots. You know, weld spatter drops on that. It's going right through that boot. That's what they got. So if informal works, that's sort of what that is. But I enjoy it. I get to do lots of stuff. I take our little van and I stuff it with a bunch of my tools, and I can go and work. Now, you do have to account for, I have an unobtainable amount of tools that I carry around, and if I look at it, it has quite the dollar attachment to it that I can't replace. I'm really not, I'm sort of overutilizing my tools for the amount of money that I'm making. And that becomes a pretty serious problem, which is why most Ecuadorians don't have a ton of fancy tools. Like your average U.S. contractor person, handyman, could fill a truck twice over with tools generally. Here, sometimes people have like a tool. That's it. Like they have a saw or a grinder, you know, and sometimes they have a handful of things, a small kit. So I am also sort of the exception on that, where I have a suite of tools that I acquired before I got here, because the wages don't support you acquiring all those tools. Generally, it's just a difference. So those things can be utilized to make yourself a living. As far as what we're doing for the future, yeah, more of it. I'm actually working with my neighbor. He's quoting out some other jobs. There's some houses that are going up and they need some steel welded. I'm like, yep, it's all the same to me. I don't really care what I'm welding. In fact, the giant pieces of steel is actually far easier to weld than the tiny little thin stuff that he's had me welding, which is just a pain. So like, that's great. And he goes, well, for this job, I could pay you a little more. Keep talking, I'll show up early. And it's sort of whatever you can finagle to work it out. It's sort of fun. So another, let's see, electrical work. I've done some electrical work. It's a little rough. It's sort of like the Wild West. If you remember, if you've ever seen pictures from the dawn of the electrification age, where there's just sort of wires strung across ceilings to places, there's quite a bit of that. There's things in conduit, there's things in garden tubing that they run into boxes and then just sort of like zip tie them in place. I'm like, that's better, that's protected, right? So there's electricians can charge a little more. A lot of the work, and I tried to get a quote once for a guy to come out and work for a day, and he goes, no, what do you need done? And I'm like, oh dude, I need a whole bunch of stuff done. I have outlets to put in, light switch to put in, wire run to all of them. I need main lines, I need a breaker box set, I need poles put up, I need triplex run from the meter to the thing. And he's like, well, how many of this or that? And I'm like, a lot. Like, how much per day? Let me just pay you per day. How much per day? No. How, no? I don't understand. No. Like, you have time, yeah. Well, how many light switches? And I'm like, like a lot. Like, I don't actually know yet. We were just going to put a bunch. And he's like, well, no, I charge per light switch. But what if it includes wire or not, or thing or something? I'm like, so there's this sometimes a different system of quoting, and he refused. At the end of it, like, I couldn't even offer him money to come out and work for a day. And I found this with electricians, plumbers, things. They have a specific per thing charge, less time, more time. They charge for the thing, like the certain act of installing a thing. Okay, that takes a little bit of getting used to. So that's also something to keep in mind. It's just a different way that they think about some things. So, yeah, that's what it is. I'm gonna keep rolling with it. I've got some other things, some other people I'm talking to about trying to like scrap for some more work here and there. Get myself as many days as I can. Try to get us some food, and we'll try to keep it growing. Because what else are you gonna do? Yeah, it's the life we chose and the place we wanted. We got to make it work. So, any questions? Happily answer them in the comments. Thanks for watching. We'll see you for the next one.